whoa, stop, sorry. That intro was reserved for full episodes, and this isn't one of them. I'm gonna give Samus Returns the feature-length treatment eventually, but for now I can't do it justice cause I don't even have a way to cap 3DS footage. So this is more of a mini critique of what eventually became my fourth favorite game of 2017. When this game was announced, I was over the freaking moon. Although it was kind of funny, I became a Metroid fan so recently that from my perspective, Samus barely even went anywhere. Nonetheless, when the game finally came out, it was not what I expected. Samus Returns is pretty bold in its efforts to disrupt the 2D Metroid formula. At first I had trouble wrapping my head around how different it was, and I wasn't sure if these changes were good. That's not really an uncommon feeling when a series reinvents itself like this. But by the second or third hour, when I'd gotten a handle on the slightly clunky controls of the Aeon powers, it really came together. Samus Returns is the first game in the series that I immediately started a second playthrough of as soon as I finished my first. That second time playing in Fusion mode was a spectacular challenge, and one that I only overcame by doing something else that I'd never done before in a Metroid game. Thanks in no small part to the scan pulse, I actually got 100% completion. Focusing on a more difficult, arsenal-based design was the perfect way to play to the strengths of the original Metroid 2, and in spite of a few rough edges, I came to love Samus's Return. Unfortunately, I can't really do more than scratch the surface here, since I can't cap my own footage. So instead, let's get this out of the way, and talk about something I can show you right now. Samus Returns is Nintendo's official remake of Metroid 2, and the Kiru that was ensnared over this game's announcement and release was the inevitable comparison to the fan-made remake that had come out a year before, AM2R. AM2R is... You know what, I'm just gonna proceed assuming you've seen my episode on it, so you might want to go catch up if you haven't. Since Samus Returns was announced, I've gotten a lot of comments from people who seem to think that because Nintendo was developing their own Metroid 2 remake, the way that they threatened legal action to force the developers of AM2R to cease development was perfectly justified. And to that I say, it's an explanation, sure, but threatening legal action against something that took years of work undertaken by your most dedicated fans is never gonna be a good look. Equally baffling, though, are the people who are angry at Nintendo for ripping off AM2R. That darn pesky Nintendo stealing our idea of remaking a Nintendo game. I have, hopefully, a more nuanced take on the whole thing. When AM2R got DMCA'd, there is no way that Samus Returns was not already in development. And look, I know this would go against Nintendo's very Japan-centric business sense, but so much bad blood could have been avoided if they had just asked Milton Guasti to cease development in light of this before going to the length of throwing their legal department at him. And at the same time, gone ahead and announced publicly that their own Metroid 2 remake was in development. Nearly a year of resentment could have been so easily avoided, and replaced with quite a bit of goodwill. To compare the two though, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I thought AM2R was a better remake and a more enjoyable game than Samus Returns in pretty much every category. If you're only gonna play one, make it this one. But that doesn't at all mean that Samus Returns isn't also worth playing, because this game turns out to be a unique evolution of the Metroid formula. The worst thing that this game could have been was a worse version of AM2R, and I think if Nintendo had gone that route, it almost certainly would have been. But fortunately, this is not a Zero Mission style remake at all. Judged on its own merits, it's a bold new take on 2D Metroid, and just like I said with AM2R, the majority of its flaws can be traced back to the clunky old game it's remaking. I just hope that this remake was Nintendo's way of testing the waters, and that before too long, we'll be getting an all-new 2D Metroid game that takes this intrepid start and refines it to be even better. Because in case the fact that I ranked it as my fourth favorite game of the year didn't make this obvious enough, Samus Returns is a fantastic comeback. In so many ways, and maybe this is just because they're linked in my mind, but it reminds me of a certain other game with returns in the title. Next time, the countdown hits number 3, with a game that recaptured the appeal of a franchise's origins and almost flawlessly brought those ideals to modern standards. Until then, keep geekin'!